Hello, fellow physicists. Today we'll be learning how computers work with Xiomara V, Jordan Christian, and Victor Motionchip.
Here are some of the important components of the computer. The main component of the computer, which helps connect everything, is called the motherboard. The motherboard is a primary circuit board. That means that any wires or cables that need to be connected will also be connected to the motherboard. Another important component of the computer is called the central processing unit. It's important because it contains a microprocessor. The microprocessor is an integrated circuit that contains all the functions of the central processing unit of the computer. The hardware and software of the computer strongly rely on the microprocessor, which is why it is a very important component. Since people usually use their computers to save files, the computers need to have a lot of storage and memory. This is where the RAM comes in. RAM stands for Random Access Memory. It is the most common computer memory. It is a chip that allows information to be stored and accessed easily. Each computer has a maximum amount of RAM, and that is why computers are able to store so much information. Drives are used when information needs to be stored but not used. For example, hard drive stores the computer's operating system and software. This makes the computer a useful tool because it helps everything stay organized. There are also other types of drives for CDs, DVDs, and Blu-ray media. Since the computer is always being operated and used to store information, it usually tends to heat up. To prevent it from damaging, computers have cooling devices. An example of a cooling device would be fans, which are located inside. The fans help the computers from overheating and breaking down. Also, a very important component is the power supply. The computer strongly relies on power supply because it is always operating. The power supply could connect to any kind of power source. Some power sources include batteries or cables.
The word port is often used to describe a place on the outside of a PC where you can plug in a cable. Many ports are affixed directly to the motherboard. Some types include USB ports, network ports, video ports, audio ports, and legacy ports. Peripherals. Any piece of hardware that isn't mounted inside a PC is called a peripheral. This includes your basic input and output devices, monitors, keyboards, and mice. It also includes printers, speakers, headphones, microphones, webcams, and flash drives. The last component we will be discussing is the expansion slot. On occasion, you'll want to add components to a PC that doesn't have a designated slot somewhere on the motherboard. That's why the motherboard will include a series of expansion slots. The removable components designed to fit into the expansion slots are called cards. Using expansion slots, you can add extra video cards, network cards, printer ports, TV receivers, and many other custom additions.
So the transistors. Just like cells are the building blocks of life, transistors are the building block of computers. So let's start with how the physical arrangement of switches gives rise to simple logical functions. For example, two switches in series provides a basic AND gate, which with two switches in parallel provides a basic OR gate. Active switch implementation using powered switching devices such as relays or transistors. Now let's move on to transistors. Transistors are made of silicon. Silicon works wonderfully for computers because transistors helps computer huge numbers of calculations in a short time. In a computer chip, transistors switch between two binary states, 0 and 1, which is, as we know, is the language of computers. One computer chip can have millions of transistors continually switching, helping complete complex calculations. So, in conclusion, we now know that computers consist of many complicated parts, such as the motherboard, which controls everything, the central processing unit, the microprocessor, the random access memory, or the RAM, the drive, which stores unused information, the cooling device, which cools the computer, the power supply, the ports, the peripherals, the expansion slots, and finally the transistors, which make everything in the computer happen. So hopefully you're still with us and haven't fallen asleep yet, but instead are inspired to maybe one day build your own computer and expand your knowledge on this fascinating but complex subject that has changed the technology world forever. Thank you for watching.